Sean, it's great to meet you, man.
Great to meet you.
It is really rare for me to be able to see a film that touches such a strong, serious subject, yet be able to laugh the whole way through. Was it important for you to be able to bring that comedic element to such a serious subject?
Yeah, it was really important because, you know, it's a topic that people can be a little bit afraid of. And I wanted to really make a legitimately funny, entertaining movie that still doesn't shy away from some of the trauma and the tragedy that's involved in these kinds of stories, but opens up more into, you know, the love and the laughter and the joy.
This film has a very personal connection for you. What was that spark to make this film?
Well, my wife and I adopted 3 kids out of the foster care system about 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago or so. And that, you know, has been the kind of central preoccupation of my life ever since then. So as I've been working on other stories about family, I've been obviously thinking a lot about my own family, and it was just natural to tell this story.
So in addition to your own personal experiences, did you include any experiences from other foster families that you
I did, yeah. The movie's inspired by my own story, but as well as the stories of a lot of other families who I either met along the way or met during the research phase. A lot of really fantastic families and kids.
There's a funny story how Mark Wahlberg got involved. Can you share
that with me? Yeah. So I really wanted Mark in this movie. So I stayed up late working on an email to you know, coerce him into doing the movie. And the next morning I was driving my kids to flag football, and I got a call from Mark, and I jumped out of the car, and Mark essentially just said yes as soon as I got on the phone. He had met kids in care over the years. It was something that was important to him, and he jumped right in, and I was so excited. I get back in the car, and my kids said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Mark Wahlberg's gonna do the adoption movie." And they were like, "Wow, yay. Who's Mark Wahlberg?" And I said, "He was Dusty from the Daddy's Home movies." And they said, "Oh, okay, we like him." And then my wife called to let me know that flag football was actually tomorrow.
Oh, no.
So I had driven to an empty parking lot to get a yes from Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. You've worked with Mark twice before, so how did you know he was perfect for this role?
Oh, God, I mean, first of all, I just think the world of him. I think he's so funny, and he's just, what I love about all of his work, whether it's his dramatic work or his comedic work, is that he has this incredible earnestness and sincerity. Whatever it is that he's doing, he just commits to it 100%. So I knew, and also I love the element of sort of tough guy Mark Wahlberg being sort of frazzled, but also really emotionally affected by these kids. So I just knew he'd be phenomenal, and he is. He's so good in this.
He seems like a kid at heart, like a baby, a soft guy at heart.
He is. He doesn't like a lot of people to know about it, but he is. He's a softie on the inside for sure.
So he's worked with Isabel Moner before. How did you direct that relationship?
Well, they knew each other. They already had a relationship, which was great. But also, Mark is such a natural dad in real life. You know, he's got a daughter that's her age. And he immediately started treating Isabella like a daughter. It was funny, she told me a story about how she had a boy on set, and Mark was kind of like, "Who's this guy?" You know? I mean, can you imagine how intimidated and scared you'd be? Yeah. So I think those two really fell into that really naturally. I didn't have to do too much work there.
And then the kid that plays her brother, you actually rewrote part of the script for it to adapt.
I did, yeah. The Juan character was originally written to be a little bit more wild and crazy. But when he came in, when Gustavo came in to read for it, he was so sweet and just had such a quiet soul. And we realized, well, we already have the younger, rambunctious little girl, so we rewrote the part for Juan. And what I loved about it is that we made his character much more like my own real son, which was great.
Does the foster system in the U.S. get a bad rap?
Yes, it does, and it's a very imperfect, sort of broken system, but it's the system that we have. And I think what matters more to me is that the kids that are trapped in that system get a bad rap, and they're the ones who absolutely don't deserve the kind of the feelings of sort of negativity and pity that sometimes people bestow on them. So that's part of my hope with the movie is to tell a more complete story so that people, when they come away from the movie, they have a better understanding of who these kids are.
In addition to the movie, what can we do to change that perception?
Well, I think the main thing is to just understand, first and foremost, that these kids are there through no fault of their own, that they are stuck in a terrible situation. And if you think about it in your own life, and you imagine somebody comes into your house in the middle of the night, tells you to pack your stuff in a garbage bag, and they take you to some stranger's house to spend the night, and then tomorrow you got to go to a different job where you don't know anybody. That would be traumatic for even the most well-adjusted adult. Now imagine an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old who's going through that. So I think if people can just be more empathetic and understand that these are just kids that need love and they need parents and they have love to give, that's what we can do.
Especially kids that have gone through that process multiple times, false promises, broken dreams.
They've been let down by every adult in their life usually. So I think that's another thing that I've been really saying about these kids everywhere is that they don't get the credit a lot of times for the strength that they have and that they've had to sort of persevere through these really difficult situations that the rest of us haven't had to deal with at all. So these kids are tough.
Your children came through the foster system.
They did.
What advice do you have for people that are curious yet maybe apprehensive about it, fostering or adopting?
That's a great question. My wife and I were curious and apprehensive when we started, majorly apprehensive. So what we decided to do was we decided not to decide. We thought, well, we'll go to an orientation. If it's not for us, we'll just move on. And then after the orientation, we learned that we had to take these foster classes. So we thought, well, let's just take the classes and we'll see what happens. So my advice is just, if you're curious, just jump into it because there's no commitment. You're gonna have to go through some steps and then you'll have plenty of time to decide.